One evening, as they sat by the fire, Adaora's thoughts returned to the family she had left behind. "What will they think of me?" she asked quietly, staring into the flames. "Will they come after me? If your family loves you, they will understand in time," Ifeanyi said, his voice calm and reassuring. "But there may be others who do not want to see us together. There is power in love, Adaora, but there is also power in jealousy." Adaora shuddered at the thought. The people in her village had always been close-knit, bound by tradition and custom. It was hard to imagine how they would react to her choice to leave everything behind. Her heart ached at the thought of disappointing her parents, especially her mother, who had always been so proud of her. But Adaora knew deep down that she couldn't live a life of sacrifice any longer. She had to follow her heart, even if it meant breaking away from everything she knew. A few days later, Adaora's fears were realized when a group of villagers arrived at the river village. They had come to find her. Her family had sent them. "Where is she?" one of the men demanded, his eyes scanning the area with suspicion. Adora's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the man, Ugochukwu, her cousin. He was a strong, proud man, known for his loyalty to family and tradition. Adaora knew that he would not understand her decision. "Ugochukwu," Ifeanyi said, stepping forward with a calm but firm presence. "You found her, but she is no longer the woman you knew. She has made her choice, and I am her choice." Ugochukwu's eyes narrowed as he looked at Ifeanyi, suspicion in his gaze. "You think you can just take her away from her family, from her life? You've brought her here, and now you think you can keep her? If you truly care for her, you will respect her choice," Ifeanyi said, his voice unwavering. "Adaora has chosen her path. It is a path of love, and we will protect it." Adaora stepped forward, her heart pounding as she faced her cousin. "I've made my decision, Ugochukwu. I can't go back. This is where I belong." "But you don't understand," Ugochukwu said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're breaking our hearts. You're breaking your mother's heart." "I'm sorry," Adaora whispered, her voice trembling. "But this is my heart now. This is my life." Ugochukwu stared at her for a long moment, his face conflicted. Finally, he turned and walked away, signaling to the others to leave. Adaora watched him go, the weight of her decision settling deeper in her chest. She had left her old life behind, but there would be no going back. The road ahead was uncertain, but she had Ifeanyi, and that was all that mattered. As the weeks turned into months, Adaora and Ifeanyi grew closer. But their love was not without its challenges. There were whispers among the villagers, rumors of Adaora's betrayal of her family, and of Ifeanyi's mysterious past. Some of the villagers began to avoid them, while others openly criticized their union. One evening, as Adaora and Ifeanyi walked through the village, a group of men approached them. They were led by Ugochukwu, who now seemed determined to separate them. "Your love has caused enough trouble," Ugochukwu said, his voice cold. "It's time for you to go, Adaora." "I'm not going anywhere," Adaora said, her voice firm. "This is my home now. I've made my choice." "You've chosen a man who will bring nothing but ruin," Ugochukwu spat. "You're no longer welcome here." Adaora felt the sting of his words, but she stood tall, refusing to let them break her. Ifeanyi placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch steadying her. "We are not afraid of you," Ifeanyi said, his voice strong. "Love is stronger than fear, and we will not be moved by threats." Ugochukwu glared at them, his eyes filled with anger and frustration. "We'll see how long your love lasts when it's tested by the world." And with that, he turned and walked away, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the silence of the night. Days passed, and Adaora couldn't shake the feeling that Ugochukwu's words had struck a chord within her. Love was powerful, but it was not immune to the forces that tried to tear it apart. She and Ifeanyi had made it this far, but could they continue to fight against the world? One night, as they sat by the river, Adaora turned to Ifeanyi, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "Do you think we can survive this?" she asked, her voice quiet. "I believe we can," Ifeanyi replied, his gaze steady. "Love is a force that nothing can truly destroy. We are destined to be together, Adaora, and nothing, not even the world itself, can change that." Adaora took a deep breath, the weight of their struggles pressing down on her. She had made her choice once, but now more than ever, She needed to believe that their love could withstand anything. "I will never stop fighting for us," Adaora said, her voice filled with resolve. "No matter what happens, I will choose you. Always." And with that, Adaora knew in her heart that love, even if it was tested by time, by fate, and by the world around them, would always find a way to endure. The days after Ugochukwu's visit were filled with an uneasy tension. Adaora could feel the weight of her choice in every glance, in every whispered conversation she overheard as she walked through the village. People were starting to pull away, some out of fear, others out of judgment. Her former life felt like a distant memory, but the repercussions of her choice were ever present. Late one evening, as she sat by the fire with Ifeanyi, her thoughts were darker than usual. The warmth from the flames seemed unable to chase away the chill that had settled in her chest. "Ifeanyi," she began softly, her eyes not meeting his. "Do you ever regret it? Do you ever wonder if we've made the right decision?" Ifeanyi didn't answer immediately. Instead, he sat beside her, his hand gently resting on hers. He could feel the tremble in her fingers, the uncertainty that gnawed at her. "I've never regretted choosing you, Adaora," he said at last, his voice steady but filled with tenderness. "But I understand your doubts. This isn't easy. Love never is. But I believe in us, in what we have. The world can be cruel, but our love is ours." Adaora sighed, her gaze drifting to the night sky. The stars seemed so far away, much like the future she had once imagined for herself. "It's not just the villagers, it's everything. I left behind so much: my family, my future. There are days when it feels like I've given up everything for a dream." "A dream that is real, Adaora," Ifeanyi countered gently. "And in your heart, you know that. Love isn't about the ease of the path, it's about walking it together, no matter how hard it gets." But Adaora couldn't silence the doubts that echoed in her mind. She turned to him, eyes wide with confusion. "But what if I've been wrong? What if there's another future where I didn't leave everything behind? Where I stayed with Chijoki? Where I stayed true to my family?" Ifeanyi's grip on her hand tightened, and he looked into her eyes with intensity. "You can't go back, Adaora. What's done is done. And in this moment, this choice, I am with you. You are not alone in this. I will never let you walk this path alone." Adaora's heart fluttered at the sincerity in his voice, but a part of her still longed for the familiar warmth of her mother's arms, the old comforts of her past life. Could she truly leave it all behind? "I'll stand by you," Ifeanyi continued, "but only if you stand by yourself first. Trust that this path you've chosen is where you belong." She closed her eyes, taking in his words, and though she still felt the heaviness of her decision, she also felt a spark of resolve. No matter how hard the journey was, she had to trust in her love for Ifeanyi and in herself. Days turned into weeks, and Adaora's fears began to manifest in unexpected ways. One afternoon, a group of villagers arrived at Ifeanyi's house. They were led by an older man, his face lined with years of hardship, his eyes filled with a deep sorrow. "I came to speak with you," the man said, his voice harsh with age. "We've heard rumors, Adaora. We've heard of strange things happening around you. People say your love is bringing darkness to this village, that it's bringing trouble." Adaora's heart skipped a beat. She had been warned about this, but hearing it out loud, facing the collective judgment of the people she had once known, stung. "I came to ask if this is the life you truly want," the elder man continued, his eyes searching hers. "The gods are watching, Adaora, and we've seen signs. Signs that this union, this love, may bring more harm than good." Ifeanyi stepped forward, his face calm but stern. "This is my choice, and this is her choice. We've chosen each other, and we'll stand by it, no matter what the world says." Adaora's chest tightened, and she took a step forward, her voice trembling but strong. "If my love with Ifeanyi brings darkness, then let it come. I've chosen this life with him, and I will not be swayed by fear or superstition. Love is not a curse. It is a gift." The elder man's gaze softened, though the worry in his eyes remained. "Be careful, Adaora. The gods do not take kindly to those who defy their will. And no matter how deep your love runs, sometimes fate has a way of forcing its hand." Adaora felt her resolve harden, but the warning echoed in her mind long after the villagers left. As the months passed, Adaora's life with Ifeanyi continued, but the pressure from the outside world only intensified. Rumors and suspicions grew, whispers of misfortune that seemed to follow her wherever she went. People began to point fingers at her, accusing her of bringing trouble to the village, while others who once considered her a daughter of their land now shunned her. But in the midst of this turmoil, Adaora began to understand something. The true test of love was not just in the ease of the journey, but in the strength to endure the storms. One day, as Adaora and Ifeanyi walked along the river, she paused, looking down at the water flowing by. The river had always been a symbol of life to her, ever-changing, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, but always moving forward. It reminded her of her own life, of the choices she had made and the ones she still had to make. Ifeanyi, she said softly, what if there's a way we could make things right with the village? What if we could go back somehow? Find a way to be with both our people? Ifeanyi stopped and turned to face her, his expression thoughtful but unwavering. There is no going back, Adaora. The love we share is too deep to be hidden or compromised. It's not about fitting in with the world anymore. It's about living in the truth of who we are, together. Adaora's heart swelled at his words, and in that moment, she knew what she had to do. There was no more turning back. The love she had with Ifeanyi wasn't just for her. It was a force that could change everything, if only they dared to believe in it enough. I choose you, Adaora whispered, her voice filled with conviction. I choose this life. I choose our love, no matter what it costs. Ifeanyi smiled, his eyes lighting up with love and admiration. And I choose you, Adaora, forever. And so, despite the obstacles, the whispers, and the doubts, Adaora and Ifeanyi walked forward together, hand in hand, hearts intertwined, ready to face whatever fate had in store for them. The next morning, the village gathered for a meeting, one that would change the course of Adaora's life. The elder man who had warned her about the gods was there, his expression solemn, but there was something new in his eyes. He looked at Adaora as though seeing her for the first time. Adaora, he said, his voice calm, you have stood by your love, and your conviction has not gone unnoticed. Though some of us were skeptical, it seems that your love has not brought darkness, but light. Perhaps we were wrong to judge you. The other villagers nodded slowly, their faces softening as they regarded Adaora and Ifeanyi. It was a small victory, but it was enough to show that love, in its purest form, could heal the deepest wounds. Adaora and Ifeanyi shared a quiet smile, knowing that this was only the beginning of their forever.